Welcome. We're David and Hillary, and this is our movie POSTview of the movie Cleaner. If you're looking for a review of the movie to see if you want to watch it or not and you haven't seen it, you might be in the wrong place. We do have a movie preview of this same movie on our YouTube page, YouTube channel, The David and Hillary Show. So look for Cleaner Movie Preview. That's what you want, because we about to spoil everything.
Yep, all the spoilers.
This is what we do when people have already seen the movie, and or if you don't care about spoilers, come on in.
Yep.
So yeah, Cleaner, Daisy Ridley plays Joey, and she's washing the outside of windows on a skyscraper in downtown London, and all heck breaks loose, and we got bad guys, and we got all kinds of crazy stuff. So I tell you what, one of the first things I noticed about this movie is it had a lot longer kind of intro, if you will, backstory for the main characters than what I was expecting. And I really liked it.
I did too.
I saw, I made a little bit of a beef in the preview of this movie with people on IMDb that hate everything. And one of the comments I saw was they hated that they spent so much time doing backstory for the characters and there wasn't enough action. And I was
like, critical critics.
Just some people are just never happy.
They always make me giggle a little bit.
I've seen lots of reviews of other people about different movies like, well, there was no backstory. Why should I care about these people?
Yeah.
So you can't please everybody, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I wanted to get to know Joey and Michael, and they did a good job with that, I thought.
I especially thought that the part of the backstory that they showed with Joey, she and Michael are brother and sister, and you see a scene from their childhood where unfortunately Michael is getting yelled at by his dad. So Joey, the younger sister, is trying to kind of hide from that and just get away from the drama. But the house is also a mess. You get the idea that they're living in not the best conditions. People really aren't taking care of things. Right. And she has to kind of like parkour her way through the kitchen and all over the dirty dishes and the mess. And she gets to the kitchen window, and you're wondering, like, is she going to just like kind of escape the house?
Jump out and go play in the yard or whatever.
Where is she headed? No, she's just going to sit on the ledge of the window, which then we realize as they pan over is like 20 plus stories.
Well, they kind of come out and pan back, and the further they pan back, the building just keeps going and going and going. You're like, oh crap.
Yeah. Well, it says a lot about her.
Way up there.
Right. She's not afraid. She's willing to get out of this bad situation by doing incredible things, but also foreshadowing to her job as a window cleaner, right?
Yep.
I would think you would need to not have a fear of heights if you were going to be outside of these huge buildings cleaning the windows. It just made me giggle a little bit just personally. I was thinking about a time when the boys were little and I was over at a friend's house and the house was set up. It's a ranch. So there was one hallway down with all the bedrooms, and the only way to get out of those rooms is to come back down the hallway. There were no other doors to the outside.
Right.
And so I'm sitting at a table at the end of the hallway, just talking with my friend. All the kids are at the other end playing. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one of the boys comes in the house through the back door. And my brain was like, he's down. How? I was like, hey, how did you get there? He's like, I just jumped out the window. And so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typical boy, but it was a ranch.
It was.
It was this high off the ground.
Not what she's doing.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I thought was really sweet, when they're opening the scene, we see Joey and Michael. Now, Joey is on the spectrum. I'm sorry. Did I say that wrong?
Michael's
on the spectrum. And
yeah.
Joey helps take care of him to some degree. And
I'll just jump in real quick and say probably her name is Josephine or something, and they call her Joey, and that's fine and it's cute. And for whatever reason, as we've been trying to talk about this movie, it's just we keep getting confused. Yeah. That's a us problem.
We're
I guess.
Just creating blooper reels. That's all we're doing.
It's fine.
It's great.
Except that we're confused.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Joey and Michael are making their way through town, and she's got to get to work on time or she's going to be in a lot of trouble. Michael has to come with her because he's gotten kicked out of the group home. And as they're making their way through town, he's like, well, how long do we have to be here? And what's going to happen? And he wants to know all the details. And she starts relating to him in Lord of the Ring time.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, okay, it's going to be about 2 Lord of the Rings or 1 extended version.
Yeah.
Which I really thought was just kind of an inside joke for all the Lord of the Rings people. But that reminded me, we used to do Rugrat time
Yeah.
for our kids.
We'd, especially when we were traveling.
Yeah.
We'd take family trips, and our boys, when they were young, watched Rugrats, which I think were like 15 minutes apiece.
Yes.
So I think they usually had like in a half-hour slot, there'd be 2 of them. But they watched it enough that they kind of knew what that meant. So if we were still, we used to take long trips at Christmas to go see family, like 9 hours or whatever. And they would say, well, good grief, we've been traveling all day. How long is it going to be? You know, the old
Are we there
familiar
yet?
thing. Are we there yet? When's it going to? So we would tell them, well, guys, settle down. We still got a ways to go. It's like 8 more Rugrats. They're like, 8 more? Are you kidding? So that's 2 hours.
But it worked because then they kind of knew, okay, this is going to be a long time.
They at least knew not to ask again
Yeah.
5 minutes later.
Right. Yeah.
So, well, one of the things, again, our whole review isn't about what other people said, but there were just so many people that either loved it or hated this movie. And one of the other comments I saw was that it was just a rehash of another movie. But when the bad guys started killing bad guys, I was like, oh,
Right.
anything's on the table now.
Yep.
I have no idea what's going on. So I thought that was an interesting twist, and I really didn't know
Yeah. Mutiny in the Rings.
what to expect. So, and then when you finally figure out where Noah's coming from, and he's an anti-humanist, I mean, that's just such a stupid take. I'm sorry. I see that growing more and more in like TV shows and movies now, and I don't know how many actual people really believe it or if it's just a Hollywood thing, but it's like the humans aren't what the earth is for. The humans are the problem. And one of the reasons I think it's stupid is that it's no secret if you haven't seen any of our other stuff, but we're Christians. We believe the Bible is true, and the Bible tells us that God made humans in his image. He didn't make animals in his image, and he told us to rule over the earth. So, but to be responsible, to take care of nature and animals and all those things, it's up to us to do that. But really, he made the earth as a place for us to live. And so the concept that someone would say, the earth deserves to live without humans mucking it up. I mean, it's just such a stupid take. I just had to say that.
And actually, it's growing. It is. There's a lot of people that believe that we are the problem.
Well, there's a lot of humans doing a lot of stupid stuff.
Right.
I can't disagree with that.
We're not stewarding the planet as well as we should be.
Right.
But the idea that if we could just get rid of the people, everything would be better. That is definitely a very strong answer to that problem. And we were talking about this before. A lot of times I'll hear people say, "Oh, well, the humans are the only animals," or they refer to people as just another animal. And we'll probably talk about that more, but that is one of the results of evolution, is that people now see us as animals, and we are not. We are not animals. We are people. We're created in the image of God, and we are altogether different from the animals. Yeah. And I also, when I studied the first chapter of Genesis, I always loved that idea that God is speaking creation the entire beginning until he gets to people. And then he gets down with his own hands and he forms man out of the dust and then breathes life into us. He doesn't do that for the animals. He speaks them into existence. He creates us with his own hands. So we are altogether different. But this
Yeah.
idea, I'm sure, stems from evolution. And really, I guess if you think, that it's our job to, quote, save the planet, and you think people are the problem, well, then there's your solution. Get rid of the parasites.
Yeah.
That's what they think we are.
One of the things I remember from science class in school was we were taught everything is either plant, animal, or mineral. And so if that's what you believe, then obviously humans are animals because they're not plants and they're not minerals. But I believe that God looks at it differently for all the reasons that we've already said.
Right.
And as long as we're this far down the path, God sent his only son, Jesus, to explain to us how to be reconciled to God and to die on the cross for our sins, that his blood could cover our sins if we accept that free gift of salvation. If you haven't done that, I encourage you to do it. But with regards to anti-humanism, the idea that humans shouldn't be on the earth because it's made for something else is completely antithetical to what we learn from the God who actually created everything that's known. He created the earth for us. Now, we could do a better job at a lot of things. I don't disagree with that. But as far as us being the problem, let's fix the problems and realize that we're created in the image of God and that we're supposed to rule responsibly over the rest of the earth, not be wiped out so that the animals and plants can run amok. Anyway.
Well, and then
Didn't know we were going to actually go there.
Yeah.
Even though we have notes, I didn't have all that in there, but that's a free bonus. You're welcome.
Well, and they also, on top of the anti-humanist, they're also doing the capitalist versus the commoner. That's a really popular idea, if not a bit overused, but it worked, so they used it.
Yeah. Again, we like the movie,
Yeah.
but it just takes us down certain paths of thoughts and conversations.
Yeah, I thought the Daisy Ridley character was very likable.
Yeah.
There was a lot of swearing early on, and again, it kind of, you're like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to sit through this the whole time, but it actually lessened, and I loved that her brother Michael got after her about it. He's like, he didn't like it. She's like, oh, I'll stop. She kept trying.
Right.
And I thought that was interesting that her brother didn't like that. Like he wanted to make her stop. That's interesting.
Yeah, and we talked in the preview that the violence wasn't as graphic and gory as it could have been, which I'm glad. But some of it was brutal in its nature, even if it was implied. And as you go through the movie and you find out Noah's thoughts and how he's an anti-humanist, it makes a lot more sense. They're like, wow, this guy really has no regard for human life. And then you realize, oh, that's kind of the point.
Right.
So that made a lot more sense as we kind of kept going through it.
One of the other characters I liked was the detective sergeant. This is in London, and she gets called in to investigate what's happening. And I think there's some, like, they're trying to say that Joey, who's on the outside of the building, she's trapped out there as a window cleaner. She's kind of seen everything through the windows.
Yep.
Which is really interesting the way they did that. They got to tell the story from the inside of the building, but then they also told the story from the outside of the building.
Yeah.
Really great perspective shift that you keep seeing. But then when the detective sergeant comes on, some of the policemen are like, yeah, she's the problem. We've got to get rid of her. And I think at one point the terrorists make Joey empty her gun down onto the sidewalk.
Right.
They're trying to get her in trouble so that they can get rid of her.
Yeah.
And Joey is skilled enough that she can shoot right by the targets, but not hit them.
Right. She misses everybody.
And the detective sergeant catches that. She's like, don't you think this person with this military training actually could have hit the target at least once?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, for sure.
I think they kind of called each other the train wreck crew, and I thought it was just, it was just kind of fun.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was fun. Be who you are, own it, and they kind of made it a thing.
Well, and then Joey and Michael, they exposed the truth about the terrorists' intent. They were able to get their hands.
At the very end, they did kind of lie about that, but they took the recording and released at least part of it.
Right. And so people would know, the damage that was being done to the environment, which I think was important to know. But the terrorists wanted to then inspire more murders, like to get rid of more people.
Right.
And I think that Joey and Mike were like, yeah, we'll expose the corruption and the environmental abuse, but we're not sending people on a shooting spree,
Right.
on a killing spree.
Right.
So
Right.
I thought that was,
You don't want copycats.
yeah, I liked that part of it.
Yeah. Another thing I hear sometimes from certain people in my circle is that they're not crazy about a lot of the movies nowadays having female protagonists, and especially in action movies where there's fighting and that the women are the hero, and they're like, I don't know, man, it just doesn't seem realistic that this woman is overcoming all these guys that are much bigger and whatever. And there's a thing, we've mentioned this in some of our reviews before, but it's called suspending disbelief. So of course, disbelief would be I see something and I think, oh, that's unrealistic. I don't believe it. I don't like it. Suspending disbelief is the understanding that anytime you see a fictional movie, especially action and where there's heroes and there's fighting and stuff, that you're almost always going to have to suspend some disbelief, which means you kind of just go, this is completely unrealistic, but that's part of the point. This is a movie. It's an escape. I'm okay with it.
It's part of the fun.
Just go with it. Think all the John Wick movies, almost all the Jason Statham movies. I mean, they're really fun, but no, it's not reasonable that one guy goes through all that stuff and he makes it and nobody else does. So that's kind of where we are here. And I'm thinking if we're suspending disbelief anyway, whether it's Bruce Willis or Jason Statham or John Wick or Daisy Ridley, who cares? It's a well-made movie. It's a fun story. Just enjoy the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think about how much pain I'm in when I just like stub my toe. And I think like that'll like double me over, throw me down on the floor. And you're telling me that anybody can take all those hits and all that, and they're just fine.
They fall off of stuff and they just get up and keep going.
I bump into something in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Okay, no.
And that's not even a Marvel movie. This is crazy. It's fun though.
It is fun.
So yeah. Well, that's our movie post view, and we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you'll check out some more of our content. We also have a podcast, so maybe check that out. In fact, we'll probably put a link on the end of this. You can check out our recent, at the time of this filming, our most recent episode 6 of our podcast on the David and Hillary Show. But anyway, for now, we're David and Hillary.
The movie was Cleaner.
And that's our post view.